Well, news in from a little earlier today as well. The United Nations Security Council has voted that South Africa is being elected as a non-permanent member of the Security Council. That's obviously very significant for South Africa's membership. Let's take you across now to my colleague over in the United States, William Denselow, a US correspondent tracking that story for us. Hello to you, William. Quite significant, this election for South Africa. Tell me how it unfolded.
Yeah, absolutely. Minister Sisulu coming over to New York describes this appointment from South Africa as her being humbled and honoured for the appointment. Of course, this is now the third time that South Africa has served on the Security Council. And how everything unfolded, well, there were 5 seats up for grab, 5 non-permanent members of the Security Council. They're set to take this 2-year position at the start of 2019. Now, this was very much seen as a slam dunk as far as South Africa were concerned. They were endorsed by the regional bloc, so they were very much running unopposed. And that was really shown in the voting. They won 183 of the 190 votes up for grabs.
So clearly a large majority, which was always going to be a concern. It's one thing to be elected. It's quite something to be elected with a large majority. Just if you can explain, William, for those of us who might not understand, a non-permanent member is quite obvious. What sort of power does South Africa have within the Security Council? What can they do and what can't they do?
Absolutely. The number one thing is that they're not one of the 5 members that have the power of a veto. Now, as we've seen in a slew of conflicts around the world, it is the 5 permanent members that really have the power to make things happen or not, as is the case. Of course, if you look at a few conflicts, such as looking at the matters regarding the civil war in Syria, we've seen huge gridlock at the Security Council because there's an impasse between the likes of Russia and the United States. The same really can be seen for the latest resolution that we saw regarding the situation in Gaza between the Israelis and the Palestinians. However, that being the case, obviously there are only 15 members on the Security Council, over 190 members of the United Nations. So this is still seen as incredibly significant. The fact that the likes of South Africa, they'll have a monthly rotation where they'll be president of the Security Council. And as a member of the SC, they'll certainly have the ability to go forward and put forward resolutions, things like that. And the fact is that they'll have a seat at the table. They'll be able to propose their own agendas. Of course, a few of those key issues for South Africa are issues such as engaging regional groups and giving the likes of the African Union a greater voice. Now, that was seen as a huge priority last time South Africa were on the Security Council on the years 2011 to 2012. They say that this is once again a key priority for them.
And it's dealing with those regional issues and also other countries on the African continent. Did you get a sense from the minister that their priority was going to be putting African agendas forward, or are they hoping to play more on the global stage and push their influence forward there?
Well, I think there's a little bit of both. A key message both from the minister and from the UN Ambassador Jerry Mangila, who we talked to a little earlier on this week. Now, his message was that he very much sees South Africa's voice as a key part of the A3, the 3 African members on the UN Security Council, working together to promote African voices for African issues especially. So that is a key policy coming from South Africa as they head towards their 2-year seat on the Security Council. Now, another key policy is that South Africa do certainly want to have an independent voice as well. They say that on a number of key issues, South Africa's unique past gives them a unique voice to play. They say they played a mediating role between the Israelis and the Palestinians, for example, for years, and they very much hope that voice can continue. So we're seeing a little bit of both as far as South Africa is concerned. They think that very much they want to see a holistic approach when it comes to African members on the Security Council, but they say they very much have a unique voice as well.